Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Been real busy here lately. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of work in the shop I've been doing. Haven't had time to grab the camera. Out here in the garage, a lot of work going on out here. Several different things we're working on. But you know, a while back I used to deal with Banggood, and we kind of lost track of each other. Well, recently Banggood contacted me again and sent two products in for review. One of them is an oscilloscope. It says it's 120 megahertz. That's still, you know, in question. But we'll tear it apart, take a look at it, and test it out. And then we got this multimeter. This is the MT110 digital multimeter, and we'll have a quick look at it too and see just what's going on about it. So I was real interested in that oscilloscope. I thought that was pretty interesting. I did see one other review on this particular one on YouTube, but I haven't seen any other reviews. But we'll take a look at it and see just what is up to it. If it'll do 60 megahertz, I would be happy, because it'd be nice to have a little small oscilloscope like that. It's not quite pocket size, but it's smaller than grabbing a big oscilloscope and going out and checking something, you know. So we'll take a look at it and see. So we're going to go handheld here, and I want to show you something that I picked up not too long ago, and that's this big old lathe. Now this is a McCabe. You can see McCabe number 4014, and it is a pretty good size lathe. It's about 79 inches from the end to the end of these gears, and it uses change gears. It does have power crossfeed, which is pretty neat, and you can see with the old step cone pulley that this thing was made to be used in a shop that had a overhead line shaft, and this line shaft was either powered by steam or by a water wheel or something. But I had to come up with a solution to get there, so I built this rack system off the back of the lathe. It's just bolted on, and it's got a pivot box on it with the motor hanging off the back side of it to turn it. But the company that made this started in about 1850, 1860, and stayed in business to about 1923, when Mr. McCabe passed away, and then the two sons, they didn't ever do much with it. Well, as you can see, I've already restored the headstock. I took it apart, cleaned it, fixed a couple things that was wrong with it, and I've already restored the tailstock. So I'm now working on the carriage assembly now, and getting that tore down and cleaned up. I've already got the apron cleaned up and all checked out and got it primed. It's ready for paint, but I got to get these compound or cross slide and get all that cleaned up, and then the carriage itself, so we can get all this back together. I still got to clean the lathe up itself, the top of it. The bed waste has been cleaned. Everything else going to get a good cleaning and painting. You can see this does have the back gears on it, so you can pull this lever, loosen the lock in the end of the low speed pulley, and gear this thing right down so it turns very, very slow. Now these old lathes wasn't made to turn fast anyway. They were considered engine lathes. A lot of these was used on railroads. McCabe also had a lathe, one of the most popular lathes, that had what was called dual spindle. You had two spindles here that you can put the chuck on, and the tailstock had two separate spindles in it. So it was very interesting, and they had a block that went on here that you would either add or remove depending on which spindle that you operated on. But I've got 4 or 5 videos in the queue already done on this in some of the spare time. I just haven't uploaded them yet. I will be uploading this on the second channel, so if anybody's interested in seeing that, we'll have some videos uploaded pretty soon on this. Okay guys, in the shop here, like I said, Banggood reached out to me and had sent me an email about reviewing some handheld radios, and I think I've done enough handheld radio reviews. We had a couple here on the channel not long ago from Retivus, and I just couldn't see doing any more handheld reviews for radios, and we talked back and forth, and I said this is more like the type of stuff that I think my channel would rather see, is equipment reviews and so forth. So they sent me these 2 pieces here, and like I say, this one is a digital meter. It is the MT110. We'll get it opened up here. Let's go. We've got the probes, and we got a little manual, very little manual. And this is the must tool. Nowhere on the box does it tell you what the brand it is, but it says branded must tool. Fits in your hand well. And we got a couple of probes here. And I do like the probes. It's not that plasticky feel. It almost feels like silicone, but I'm not sure. You see you got tip protectors on it, and the other end has protectors on it. We'll go ahead and pull those off. So it does not come with a battery. We'll have to put a battery in it. So to get to the batteries, it's just a little screw here you take out, and you'll probably lose it since the way it's designed, but the battery door just actually clips in at one end, and then the screw goes in the other end. Now it would have been nice if they would have had some type of retainer here to hold the screw in so you don't lose it, but it's not there. But they do have a brass insert, threaded brass insert that the screw screws in, so you're not screwing into plastic. And looking at this, I see no screws under here to take this thing apart with, and I kind of wanted to get into it, but I don't want to ruin it. But no, there's no screws whatsoever to take it apart. Interesting. So I guess you have to look closely Uh, this is some type of soft rubber material, and I was going to take an X-Acto knife and just see if I could pry it apart, but then I noticed that this was rubber. Now my hands has been doing mechanic work and all kinds of things, so the feeling of stuff, but as you see, this has a rubber case on it. And as it comes on, it locks into this groove. So that sure blew my mind for a moment, and there's our screws to take it apart with. Anyway, sometimes first impressions ain't always what you think they are. That one sure threw me for a loop. Okay, looks like we got A's in here. And there's 6 screws holding the main board in. I have got to magnetize these screwdrivers again. So I'm not expecting a whole lot in this. Probably the traditional one IC that does it all. We do say we have a beeper here. There's 2 capacitors mounted on this side. We can see looks like an LED, but it's some type of sensor. Nope, it's an LED. This thing must have a light on it. Yep. That's about all she wrote. But you can see underneath of it there is a IC under there and a few passives. And we see some transistor packages around, the big diode there. A couple of resistors here, current shunt. I see nothing in the way of protection or AC. It just doesn't get any simpler than that. But for the price, this is what you're getting. There's a zebra strip across the top for the display. Let me see if I can get this thing back together. Let's see if it even works. Okay, so not something I would go using for high voltage. Probably in the bench here, working on DC stuff. Yeah, it'd be alright. Maybe some, depending on the country, 110 volts. Yeah, fine. But getting up with higher voltage, 220, 240 and up, I would be a little concerned about using a meter like this. It may be fine, but I just don't see that much protection inside of it. None of the circuit tracers are really far apart, so yeah, I would be careful using it for high voltage. So we'll put some probes on it, and I think I'll use my probe. It does have a tilting bell on the back. We can set this up. We'll turn it on. We can go through different modes. DC voltage. We'll get our standard. Turn it on. Let's see, we're on DC. This is 5 volt. 4.999, 4.996. That's pretty close. Let's see if this thing has frequency. Well, we'll go ahead and check AC voltage. Switch the standard over to AC. 4.956. Okay. Diode check. Capacitor. Doesn't look like it has frequency on it. We should be getting a 100 kilohertz across here on AC if it was in the frequency mode. It says frequency, but there's no mark underneath of it. So there's no mark, so it doesn't have frequency. So we can't really check frequency with it. But we can check resistance. We'll put it on the 100 ohm resistor. And 100.1, 100.2. Okay, we'll go to 1K. Okay, it's reading 1K in auto mode. Let's try 10K. 10.01. And we'll try 100K. And 100.1, 100.2. Let's see how good the beep is. Hey, that's pretty neat. When it during continuity, you get a red light that comes on here. It's not bad. Anyway, I got it set to capacitor mode, and we'll see if it'll read a. This is a 2 microfarad capacitor. 2.332 UF. And a 15 microfarad here. Okay, we got a 15 microfarad here. Takes a moment to charge up. 14.78. Well guys, all in all, it's not a bad meter at all. Again, I wouldn't trust, using it on high voltage. It says max 1000 volts DC, 750 volts AC. I would not go that high with this meter. It's just not enough protection on it. Then using these type of leads, no, I wouldn't do it. But for the price of this thing, it's not really that expensive. So it's supposed to have auto shutdown in about 15 minutes. It's got NCV, which is no contact voltage, and it does have a flashlight in it, as you can see. And everything you does, it beeps. Can handle current up to 10 amp. Well, I didn't check current on it. Anyway, for I think it's on sale right now for like $17 and some change. So that's not too bad. I'll leave a link down below if you're interested in one of them. So my brother, his birthday came along, so I bought him a set of residential AC gauges. And then yesterday he came over and bought one of my B&K Precision multimeters. Maybe I'll pass this over to him for his birthday also. So this is the Mustool MDS 120M. And from what I've already seen, I'm already impressed with this little unit for what it can do. Like it says it's 120 megahertz. That's already been proven, but we'll get into that. And it comes with a USB-C charger, some clips, rings, and conversation adjustment tool for the scope probes. Comes with a set of those standard style 100 megahertz oscilloscope probes. In fact, these are the same probes that I think that came with I think my Rigol, but I have seen these type of probes before. Probably a cheaper version of those with the Rigol. There is a user manual. And it's pretty in-depth. Quite a bit of information here. And the scope comes in a little carrying bag. Like I said, not quite pocket size, but not far from it. There's a little tilting bell on the back. You got your power switch on the bottom. That's where your charging cable plugs in. Your test port on the back or the top of it. That's your conversation test. So we'll turn it on. And it's a pretty bright little display. It's not bad at all. I'll go ahead and pop the probe on it. There we go. And looks like the capacitors on the probe has already been compensated, because it's pretty straight on, reading 3.3 volts peak to peak, 1 kilohertz. I'm really impressed with how nice the screen display is. It's very easy to read. It's real bright. So trigger mode is set middle way. So now we're out of trigger range. That's not bad at all. Most of your stuff is right here on the front. 1 times, 10 times. Right here. I don't know what all scope is set up. It's set at 1 time, so we go to 10 times. Back to 1 times. Okay, I have a GDS signal generator connected to it, and we have it on AM. It's AM modulated, and we can see our waveform that it's showing, and it's well, let's just say it doesn't look as good as it should. Okay, I'm just going to run through standard waveforms. This is frequency of 1K. That's a sine wave. There's a sawtooth wave. So square waves a little off. It's a negative ramp. Positive ramp. And it's probably because we're not 50 ohm terminated. And with a 50 ohm termination, it's still not that great. You can see the overshoot on the peaks. Alright, now let's go ahead and do the test that we really want to know. I'm putting that's 500 kilohertz, and I'm looking to see if it's reading it. 100 millivolts, 495 kilohertz. Down the bottom. I'm looking up here on the top, you can see it. Okay, let's go to 1 megahertz. It's not that bad. We'll try 10 megahertz. And we're still in there. 20 megahertz. You see the waveform is already moving around a little bit at 20 megahertz. We'll go ahead and double that up. We'll go to 50 megahertz. Now you can see at 50 megahertz what happened is the waveform shrank down. It's still there. We can make it bigger, but you can see it's moving around a lot. It's not very stable, and we can see the voltage, peak to peak voltage, is changing. Let's try 75 megahertz. Yeah, it's really gotten unstable there. Yeah, that's not even usable frequency there. But it says it's 100 megahertz, so let's no, it says 120 megahertz. So let's try 100 megahertz. So I can already tell you at 120 megahertz, there's no way. We can see our waveform is unstable, it keeps collapsing. Well guys, I actually think, I mean everything is right here on the front panel. You don't have to go into the menu that much. You can go into menu, you can set different things. Waveform, voltage, time, gen out, calibrate. I haven't done a calibration on it, but it has a backlight, grid, and this is where you can turn the beep off and on. And it's already turned off on this one. So it's not a bad little oscilloscope. I think if you want to use it up to 50 megahertz, you could do that. 40 would be real good, and that will cover a lot of stuff that you want to see if you're tracing a circuit, especially down in audio. This is a good little device to have. But let's see what's inside of it. There's all 4 screws. Make sure there's nothing behind it. Had to pop off the little rubber baby buggy bumpers. Well guys, there's the inside of it. As you can see, not a whole lot. It's your rechargeable, probably a lithium battery. There's a beeper, there's a power switch. It's a little IC here. This is a GD32 microcontroller. So this is probably, well, it goes into the microcontroller. Got to be something here for the display. I don't know if it's going to be this one. I don't think it's going to be that one up there. I don't know if we can see that. Okay, I got the microscope, the little dino light. Of going handheld. That's the main microcontroller. You see it's a GD32. Then the other little chip over here that we saw, that's a wind band. We would have to look that up and see what that is. We got another chip over here. Again, that one's upside down. AD9288. That's what it looks like. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, AD9288. And according to the website, that's a digital converter. And if you look right here, it's like a YouTube play button. Okay, these are, looks like inductors. L2137. There's quite a few of these in here. Another one that turned the other way. Is that text instrument? Maybe. OBAF com. It's an HC148. And there's a little chip hiding over here in the corner. It's a TP4056. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. I can't see it from where I'm standing at. So guys, that's a pretty nice little oscilloscope. Again, you know, about 50 megahertz is about as high as you want to test with it. But it's listed on Banggood site for like $72.99 for this oscilloscope. I mean, even a 50 megahertz oscilloscope, that's not a bad price at all for it. And it's lightweight. It's easy to carry around. Throw it in the bag, throw this in your box, and need an oscilloscope. There you go. I actually had this in the car at work a few days ago, and was testing some controllers and needed to see if my data signal from the programmer was working. So I went out to the car, grabbed this, took it out of the box, and used that to verify it. So it's pretty nice to have a little something like this. I'll leave the links down below if you want to look at it, one of these items. But I think the oscilloscope is a little winner. I think it'll do just what you need to do. And guys, I got another radio here we'll be adding to our list of restorations. There's not a whole lot wrong with it. It was very dirty, and it had a couple of issues right to start with before I could even start doing the restoration. A couple of switches, the power switch didn't work, and the VFO dial did not work. Now I've already done a video on those over on Patreon if you're interested in seeing those. But this has actually, yeah, it's called a VFO, variable frequency oscillator, but it actually has a PTO, probability tuned oscillator, and all this stuff was froze up all the way through the whole PTO. So over on Patreon we tore this down, got it fixed, got that part working, and the radio does now receive and shows life on output. But there's a few other things that needs to be done to it. When you go to CW doesn't work, and we need to probably do a good clean up on the boards, check everything, and clean some of the other switches, and get this thing up and running, because I like to get it tried out, and I got somebody wanted to use it next field day for CW, because these are awesome CW rigs, If you notice, it's got, you know, the built-in keyer. It's got your keyer speed. It's just a nice radio for CW. They do real good on single sideband too, but for CW, this Tech Corsair is a great radio. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll get some more videos. I got a lot of stuff in the queue. My wife just walked in the shop a few minutes ago and said, "You need to clean up in here." And I agree with her. It's the shop's in a mess. As you can see, just the part that y'all don't see is just stuff sitting everywhere. And yeah, it needs a good cleaning in here. So I'm going to have to spend a whole weekend rearranging and cleaning up and getting stuff straightened out up in here so we can get in here and do some videos. I've been real busy working on some other stuff and some stuff for some friends, and a lot of times I don't have time to grab the camera for that kind of stuff. So, you know, you do what you got to do. Alright guys, have a good one. Like I say, links down below for the equipment, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye now.